After Mayor Baba began his silence, other women were allowed to stay at Mehrabad inside the post office. Gulmai with her two daughters, Dolly and Paroja, Pilamai, Baba's spiritual sister from Karachi, Tamina Bomanji from Bombay, and her two children, and Kak Saheb's wife, Zorabe, with a young son. Zorabe was also pregnant at the time, and when the child was born, it was the first baby girl to be named after Mehera. About 15 women now stayed in the post office. They unrolled their mattresses at night and slept in double rows on the floor. In the morning, the mattresses were rolled up and piled in a corner before starting their work. I wonder what those mattresses were like
I don't know.
stuffed with cotton or
Could have been.
Big Khorshid was in charge of chapatis and oversaw their production. Paroja was in charge of afternoon and morning tea. Everyone else contributed in one way or another to the general cooking, guided by Dalatmai and Dalamasi. Two Christian girls whose names are not recalled, but who were young and hardworking, also lived with the women. They cooked outside in the new temporary kitchen, but they continued to prepare tea in one corner of their room. They had a late breakfast of tea with chapati, no butter, but lunch was served around 11. By 11, we were as hungry as hunters, Mehera recalled. We were just waiting for the dal and rice. For days and days, we had tur dal and rice for both lunch and dinner. But as long as we were with Baba, we didn't mind. Because the women were cooking for close to 100 people, the Mandali, the school children, and wayfarers staying in a dharamshala, there was much to be done. At night, they had to clean the spinach of grit so that it would be ready for cooking in the morning. Two large containers of rice, the size of a kerosene tin, were cleaned and cooked daily, and one container of dal. So much food had to be cooked, and it was hot inside the kitchen under the tin roof with the smoke from the wood fires. But we loved doing it because it was for Baba. Baba kept us all busy. In the evenings, despite Baba's silence, there was still bhajan singing. But was mostly preoccupied with the school, and after starting his silence, he rarely visited the women. Baba's permission was necessary for anything and everything in the ashram, however. Nothing was to be done without his approval, said Mehera. We were to let him know everything. Baba himself instructed us to do certain things. So, keeping silence, how difficult it was for Baba to manage all this. Although there was tata all around their compound, and the women could not see out, they could hear Baba's loud clap and would know he was nearby calling someone. There was much activity in those days in Mehrabad.
I'm sorry.
Mehera continued. With the school and so many persons living there, Baba started even more activity for the poor after keeping silence. Using his slate, Baba gave the women many additional orders to follow. After a few days, Small Korshad complained to him. Every day we are strictly adhering to what you have told us. You said if we followed your orders 100%, you would come to see us, but you hardly visit us. Baba promised to come more often, but he almost never entered their room. An old wooden tea crate was placed on the veranda on which he would sit. Here he had his meals, chatted with the women, and told them to massage his legs. Once he took the women outside their compound to show them the makeshift tata cabins with tin roofs where Rustam and Franny were living, and Sai Darbar, that's Sai's court, where Baba gave darshan to crowds. The Mandali had a large temporary room with a tin roof called Makani Kas, House of the Chosen, and there were tin school rooms as well. 3 days after beginning his silence, Baba had started writing his secret book, which he said would be the Bible of the future. At first, he worked in the Jobti, but on 11 October, he moved into a small teakwood cabin, 8 by 5 by 3 feet high, constructed under a much larger teakwood table, according to his specifications. Because of its odd appearance, it was called the table cabin. It was placed under a neem tree by the road, where after a month, a duni, sacred fire, was lit in a small pit dug by Baba himself. The table had first been put near the post office veranda. The women had thus had a good look at it and knew what Baba was enduring in order to write there. Baba always put himself to much discomfort and inconvenience.
I'm sorry. These pop-ups keep.
Said Mehera. For example, he wrote the book inside a table while on silence and fasting. Anyone else who was writing a book would want to do so in the fresh air. Mehera was still keeping all of Baba's things in the post office. Before beginning his work in the table cabin, Baba visited the women and instructed Mehera about what he would need for his fast. She was to boil milk and send it to him, but not to clean garlic or onions so that their smell would not get in the milk. She was also to make a chutney with half of a green chili pepper, without seeds, stuffed with garlic and a pinch of salt, and then fried. Hot water for Baba to wash his face was also to be sent. The milk had to be boiled over a kerosene stove and not a wood fire. Which would have given it a smoky flavor, and then strained. Naja wanted to help, and Mehera allowed her to light the stove so that her own hands would not smell of kerosene and taint the milk or the chutney. When everything was ready, they would cover the chutney and place it on a tray with a single cup of milk. Walu would take it to the gate of their compound, from where one of the men took it to Baba. Baba never wrote directly to Mehera, but he did send notes to her through others. One day, he sent a note saying to tell Mehera that his milk that day was not quite warm enough. Other instructions were also sent from the table cabin, and Baba sometimes inquired, is Mehera happy or is she depressed? After a certain phase of Baba's work was completed, he returned to the women's compound. Usually they were not in their room, but cooking in the temporary kitchen nearby. Ustaji, who had orders to speak only with Dalit Mai, would inform her that Baba was coming, so be ready. She would pass on the message, and everyone would drop whatever they were doing, wash their hands, and rush out into the compound. One day, Baba came in through the gate carrying a cricket bat and ball. Wickets were thrown inside by the mandali. Baba taught the women how to play cricket that day and told them to play every day at 4:30 p.m. for an hour. He instructed Zorabai to beat a tin box, which was the signal that they must assemble to play cricket. The women played in their cotton saris, but the games were spirited. They shouted at each other as they bowled, batted, and ran around enthusiastically. Baba loved the game very much and wanted us to learn also, said Mehera. For 9 months after returning to Meherabad, January to October 1925, Baba did not shave. This was the only time Mehera ever saw Baba with a beard. Soft, dark hair grew on his chin, but not on his cheeks. And the sidebar says, one ladies' cricket match was played from 3 to 4 p.m. on 21 August 1926. Baba was the umpire and Kaka Shahani, the only other male present, was the scorekeeper. Franey's team won that day, with herself being the highest scorer of 26 runs. One day, Baba called the women together on the post office veranda and wrote on his slate, "Can you guess who my Radha is?" Small Khorshid said, "Baba John." Someone guessed Gulmai. Another answered, "Gustaji." But Baba wrote, "None of these." "Then tell us who it is," said Khorshid. Baba pointed to Mehera. He wrote on the slate, "She is my Radha." I wonder who answered Gustaji.
Yeah,
Some smart ass.
yeah.
Baba wrote another name on the slate, Chandula. This was short for Chandrika, Radha's best friend. He told Small Khorshid, "And you are Radha's favorite Saki, best friend." Pointing to the others, he said, "You are all my gopis." Later, Baba asked Khorshid, "Will you be with Mehera and look after her always?" Khorshid promised, "Yes, Baba, I will do as you wish." Sometimes when Khorshid was seated, Baba would see her from behind and mistake her for Mehera. One day he told her privately, "I love Mehera first, then you, then Naja, and then the others." Small Khorshid was an only child and the apple of her father, Kaikushru Maza's eye. Her father doted on her and did not want to be separated from her, so he would write to Baba to send Khorshid back to Bombay for a few days. Khorshid did not want to go, of course, but Baba would tell her, "I am sending you, so it is the same as if you are staying with me." Khorshid would leave, always weeping, but when she returned after a month, she would bring colorful new cotton saris for the other women. Baba never said to wear white saris. Any color was all right. Baba liked colorful things. Once Khorshid brought Mehera an attractive peacock blue sari. With a dainty rose print border made of the best kind of foulard cotton. Where should I wear it? But Mehera thought. In the house, the ashram? Khorshid also brought patro, spinach for Baba, and a 14-ingredient chutney that her ayah would make. Baba liked it and would have it with his rice and dal. The women learned how to make it and would sometimes prepare it. Dalat Mai also made new and different kinds of chutney for Baba. Baba would taste one and say, "Wow, wow." Who made this chutney? Dalat Mai would say she had, and Baba would use an idiomatic Gujarati expression, which meant, "You have hidden talents. I didn't know you could make this." I wonder what the Gujarati idiom was.
Mm.
Dalat was pleased by his appreciation. At one stage, when Khorshid was staying in Ahmednagar with her relatives, she often visited Meherabad. One evening, she did not wish to return to Khushru quarters, so she told Mehra, who said she could spend the night with them. When Baba found out, he was upset and he told Khorshid to leave immediately. Crying, she began walking on the road. After she had gone a short distance, Baba came behind her and asked how she would get home. "Walking," Khorshid replied tearfully. "You don't want me, so I'm going." Baba said, "No, not like this. Wait." He hailed a tonga and sent her back in it. Mehra had fond memories of Khorshid's father. Kaikushu Masa was a fine person with a quiet nature. He could read palms. Some things he would tell us, some things he would only smile and not reveal. One day, when they first came to stay at Meherabad, Kaikushu Masa read one of the girls' palms. He read Mehra's also and told her, "You will go on a voyage on the sea." Mehra laughed. Staying with Baba in the ashram, how could she ever take a sea journey? But Kaikushu's prediction came true 11 years later when the women traveled with Baba to France. Afterwards, the subject of reading palms came up. Mehra had had her palm read when she was a child at the Royal Hotel, and Baba learned that Kaikushu Masa had also recently done it. He then told Mehra never to show her palm to anyone again. On 30 September 1925, a second son, Falu, was born to Rustam and Frani. Rustam was now vice superintendent of the school, as well as co-manager with Wasaheb of the Meherabad property. Several temporary huts had been built near the railway line, and Rustam, Frani, and Melo had been living in one of them. After Falu was born, however, they moved into the family quarters, a large house on the outskirts of Arangaon village, about 5 minutes walk from Meherabad. And they stayed there for some time before moving back to Khushru quarters. Dalat Mai, whose only son had died as an infant, would spoil her grandchildren, but Mehra had little or no connection with her immediate family
Okay.
since joining Baba.
Rosalie, do you feel up to reading?
Yeah. Yes. Um, from where?
Right
Um,
after
Mehra
since
explained.
yeah, Mehra
Oh,
explained.
okay.
Oh, by the way, I have to leave a little early, 15 minutes early.
Okay. Mary explained that all of her love being for Baba, even the love she felt for her mother, she kept separate. When her sister had children, she intentionally kept aloof and was cool towards them. so that she would stay uninvolved and not become attached to them. She saw Franny's children occasionally, but she would not allow herself to develop a close rapport with them. I loved my mother, my sister, and her children, but I saw that I did not get mixed up in all that. I did not let myself fall into Maya. My sister's children were cute, but I put my mind more in Baba's work. Baba would see to their welfare. He would talk sweetly to Franny, tell her not to worry. If something happened to her children, Baba would say, "It won't die." He would take the child on his lap. Baba loved children very dearly. Baba is the only one whom I really loved. I shunned relations with Maya. I saw to it that I should not be attached to my sister, my mother, or my sister's children. I actively tried to keep myself apart, and I succeeded in that. Only Baba. We have love for Baba lovers. So naturally, when they love Baba, it makes me happy, and we feel for them. But the other love for Baba is different. Franny, on the other hand, admitted that she had to fight with Baba over Mehera, because Franny too wished to do things for him. "Why is Mehera so special?" Franny once demanded. "Because Mehera does more for me than others," Baba replied. At other times, he also said that Mehera was the purest soul in the universe, and that her love for him was unique. According to Adi Senior, Franny's brother-in-law, Franny was jealous of Mehera. Franny wondered why Baba loved Mehera more than her, since she was so much more clever than her sister was. At least, yeah, at least in school. But Mehera said that Baba did love Franny very much, and like Pilamai, would call her his spiritual sister. There were other difficulties in Franny and Rustam's marriage. They fought constantly when they lived at Khushbu quarters. Khorshid confirmed this. Franny was very argumentative and kept asking Baba, "Why did you make us get married? I never wanted to marry." The fact was she was jealous of her younger sister. Mehera got along with her, but when she saw that Franny was jealous of her, she stopped having much to do with her. Franny was very loving towards Khorshid, though as Khorshid helped take care of Franny's children. But Franny was perhaps closer to Naja than to any of the others. She could speak frankly and openly with Naja about the outside world, as Baba was not as strict with Naja over this. At the beginning, Naja too questioned Mehera's status. Once, when very tired from all the work she had to do in the ashram, Naja thought, "Mehera is not given much work. Why does Baba make me work so hard?" Although Naja did not voice her thoughts, Baba one day called his cousin and told her the story of Mary and Martha of Bethany in the New Testament, who both loved Jesus dearly. Martha did not have the opportunity to be with Jesus as much as she wanted because she was so busy cooking all day. But Jesus explained that Mary was serving Jesus more by sitting at his feet than Martha was by cooking. Each, however, had the opportunity for service. Baba then indicated that Naja was like Martha and said, continue doing your duty with love and don't think about what others are doing. According to Franey, at times, Baba scolded Mehera for something, like not bringing things on time. And Mehera would weep. Mehera would also expect more attention from Baba than the others received. And if Baba forgot to lavish it on her, this too would be reason for tears. Once Baba gathered the women and said, you are all jealous of Mehera. Only Khorshid is not. Khorshid affirmed that she never felt jealous of Mehera.
Sorry, I'm trying to get this cursor to work.
Where are we? Okay.
Do we?
Where are we?
I may have gone down too far.
Describe. Let's see.
Franny was very argumentative.
I don't know where you are.
Let's see.
Oh, it was very loving. Okay, Franny was, Khorshid confirmed this. Franny was very argumentative and kept asking Baba, why did you make me get married? I never wanted to marry. The fact was she was jealous of her younger sister. Mehera got along with her, but when she saw that Franny was jealous of her, she stopped having much to do with her. So we're further along there. Let's see. We're further, the next page about Martha and Mary. Okay. Although Najit, no, we read that. Okay. Okay. According to Franny, at times Baba scolded Mehera for something like not bringing things on time, and Mehera would weep. Mehera would also expect more attention from Baba than the others received. And if Baba forgot to lavish it on her, this too would be reason for tears. Once Baba gathered the women and said, you are all jealous of Mehera. Only Khorshid is not. Khorshid affirmed that she never felt jealous of Mehera. Baba would not let even his mother criticize Mehera. Shireen Mai stayed at the post office many times, where she often found an excuse to be upset with one of the women. Perhaps the food was not ready when she felt hungry. For instance, although Shireen Mai loved her niece, Naja, very much, it was usually Naja or Shireen Mai's daughter-in-law, Big Khorshid, who was the object of her irritation. One day, she complained about them to Baba. You can't be upset with them, Baba told her. You can criticize, you can find fault with anyone and everyone in the ashram, but not with Mehera. don't ever say a word against Mehera, and don't ever make me unhappy either. And don't ever make her unhappy either. Mehera was not present, but was told what Baba had said by one of the others. She was touched by Baba's words. Mehera said, "It was very sweet of Baba to say that." Whenever Shri Mai came to Meherabad, Mehera would bring her a cup of tea, which pleased her to no end. "See," she would tell the other girls, "Mehera loves me more than you do." I did used to love her, Mehera said. Often she would muse over Shri Mai's love for Baba, how she had given her firstborn Jamshed away and loved Baba as a baby. Beautiful and cuddly, all curly brown hair. Mehera too wished she would have held Meherwan as a baby. Shri Mai must have played with him, kissed him. How much she must have loved Baba as an infant. And the sidebar says, regarding Baba's given name, Mehera stated, "I never called him Merwanji. I always said Baba. I would have liked to call him Merwan, but I never asked Baba if I could. Just once call him Merwan. Now I regret that I never got the chance to call Baba by his given name." Shri Mai was a very witty person, Mehera continued. "We took great pains to please her whenever she came, but sometimes she had moods. 'You all are happy with Baba,' she used to say. 'Baba this and Baba that, but Baba is mine. I am his mother. You all have stolen him from me.' Sometimes she was joking, but other times she was serious. She would scold us girls. 'You all are happy here with Mehrab, while I am alone in Pune without my son. It is all your fault. You have taken my son away.' She could talk like this, wishing to blame someone for Baba's absence. In the beginning, when her other sons were staying with Baba, she used to feel that she was at home alone in the house. Frainie's daughter, Meru, explained that there were a number of reasons for Shri Mai's sometimes ill-tempered manner. The Zoroastrian community in Pune and Bombay were strongly against Baba at this time. Shri Mai was greatly distressed by the antagonism of the nearby community of her Irani neighbors, who took every opportunity to pointedly ignore her and talk against her and Baba behind her back. Because of her son, Shri Mai, who had been a belle of Irani society in Pune, was shunned and ostracized by her peers in Pune. And around this time, Shariarji was duped by an employee, and the family lost their business, savings, and financial standing in their community. Shri Mai naturally felt deeply about all of this. And whenever she came to Meherabad to be with Baba, she let off a lot of steam. The young girls of the ashram, whose presence in the ashram also caused gossip about Baba, got the brunt of her pain until she cooled off. Naturally, they felt apprehensive when she came, for they never knew what would upset her. They tried conscientiously not to upset her, and they gave her the same deference Baba gave her. not only as their elder, but also as the mother of their master. When Baba was a child, Shireen Mai used to frequent the fire temple. But when Merwan became Meher Baba, she stopped attending services there. Nevertheless, she remained a staunch follower of Zoroaster her entire life and always wore the sadra and kusti. When she came to Meherabad, she would notice if the girls were doing their sacred thread rituals. Dalit Mai, Mehera, and Small Khorshid had stopped wearing theirs after coming to stay with Baba. Franey, living until recently with Rustam's family in Ahmednagar, continued to wear hers. Baba also wore a kusti until sometime in 1925, when he too discontinued using it. Baba's sign for Zoroastrians was the kusti, both hands pulling, both hands pulling apart an imaginary string. For Hindus, he would gesture for the thread they wear across their chest, from their shoulder to their waist. And for Muslims, his gesture was the fez cap. Other gestures Baba used included slapping a person's palm when he gave a promise. Sometimes Baba would tell someone about something that would happen in his or her life, and that person would ask, "But how did I know it will happen? How can I be sure?" Baba would say, "I promise," and hold out his hand, slapping their palm in promise. The person concerned would feel confident that whatever Meher Baba had said would come true. Many times, Baba would hold out his hands saying, "I promise." Mehera called, but how many promises Baba kept, I don't know. Mehera described another habit Baba had. Baba and Indians in general had the habit of pinching his throat and swearing sometimes as if one were swearing on one's life, similar to Westerners saying, "Cross my heart." Baba told me once never to swear by him, never to take his name and swear something on it. So what I do now when I want to convince someone that what I am saying is true, I put my hand on Baba's photo. I don't swear by it, but I put my hand on it so that they can see and believe that what I'm saying is true. That's how I do it now. During the women's stay at the post office, Gulmai sent them many provisions, toiletries, furniture, and so on, especially when her daughter Dali lived with them. Dali would tell Adi Sr., her brother, that they needed 6 tubes of toothpaste, for example, and he would bring it when he came from town. Dali was an exceptionally hard worker. Nacha was sick much of the time, so more of the strenuous work was done by Dali, who was devoted to Mehera. She loved Mehera dearly since their days together at Khushru quarters. And she would always do things for her. Later on, Baba, for his own reasons, separated Dali from the other women. And the sidebar says, Gulmai's older daughter, Pirojsha, 15, also lived with the women at Meherabad for a short time before her marriage, which was arranged at this time according to Baba's instructions. Gulmai too was fond of each of the girls. Like Shireen Mai, Gulmai faced much opposition to Baba from her husband's family. But according to Mehru, her granddaughter, in her quiet, gentle way, Gulmai would try to do what Baba wanted of her and to get her husband to do so also. Khan Saheb was torn between his love for Gulmai and his love for his sister and brother-in-law, Sarosha's parents, who were deadly against Baba. He himself was drawn to Baba, but at the same time, he had to keep his brother-in-law, who was also his business partner, happy. Gulmai herself, in accordance with her gentle nature, would have much preferred to be away from all the family discord and spend her days quietly with Upasni Maharaj at Sakori. But she, whom Baba regarded as his spiritual mother, had an active role to play. And Baba had to wean her away from this inclination to play her part in his advent. Shireen Mai, Gulmai, and Dalit Mai were the three older women of Baba's early women's group who played a crucial role in his work, Mehru explained. One was Baba's natural mother, one his spiritual mother, and one the mother of his beloved. Each, because of her relationship with Baba, had many difficulties to face.
Do you see
with
where
the
you are?
with the outside world. Baba held these three close ones in great regard, and in his deference to them, he never ordered them to do something, but instead persuaded them to want to do what he wanted of them. Dalit Mai got along with Gulmai, but later, when Baba's mother and Mani came into the picture more, Gulmai was not called as frequently, according to Adi Sr. Shireen Mai was jealous of Gulmai, he stated. She harassed and harassed her. She was jealous of the spiritual mother. When Shireen Mai would come to Meherabad, she used to fight to such a degree that she drove Gulmai away. She absolutely hated her. She wouldn't like to see the sight of her. She was extremely jealous, but she liked me very much. Shireen Mai was so jealous of Gulmai, she would even take her necklace or other jewelry and keep it. She would remark how attractive it was and then ask for it. Gulmai would bring savory dishes for Baba as well. Shireen Mai would say, "Throw it out, Marag. It will give you a stomach ache. Your stomach is so sensitive anyway."
I think we're going to stop here. Oh, I see we have a few other people, but